Have you ever wondered how a little handheld with a black and white display, the Game Boy, managed to not only dominate the market, but completely crush the competition? Considering the competition had a color backlit display. It's a really simple, yet interesting story. When Gunpei Yokoi of Nintendo started R&D on the Game Boy back in like the mid-late 80s, the idea was to recreate the popular Game & Watch, except with swappable games. And in early stages, Nintendo approached tons of companies to make this display. The one that stuck out though was Citizen. Citizen came in with this really nice color backlit display to show to Nintendo. There was a couple of problems. The display was power hungry and expensive. Now, story has it, as Citizen was leaving that meeting with Nintendo, they crossed paths with the executives from Sharp. Sharp came in, showed off a non-color display for a much lower price. But there was one thing that really sealed the deal, and that was power consumption, or battery life. Nintendo's goal was to get us to play this device for as long as possible. And mom and dad having to run to the store every other day to get 4 AA batteries just wasn't gonna fly. Thus, Sharp won the bid and Nintendo created the Game Boy. And this partnership with Sharp would help Nintendo create 2 of the most defining details of the Game Boy's success. And that was a launching price point at $89 and a wildly extended battery life. Let me ask you, did you buy a Sega Game Gear? Do you remember how much they launched for? $149.99. And if you had one, do you remember how often you changed the batteries? Very often. And here's the real kicker. The company that won the bid for the display in the Sega Game Gear, yep, it was Citizen, which is the same display Nintendo was pitched for the Game Boy. And the Sega Game Gear, with the backlit color display, sold about 11 million units in its lifetime. The Game Boy, with its non-color, non-backlit display, has sold 118 million units in its lifetime. And that is the story behind why Nintendo didn't use a color display for the Game Boy.